Here is a bit of wisdom from your Uncle Cooper. Tires exist on a spectrum. On one end, you got too much tire. On the other, you don't get enough. Both ends are rip-offs. You're either paying for more than you need or needing more even after you pay. So if you want a tire that costs what tires should cost and does what tires should do, go right for the sweet spot. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
At TopCon, we know a thing or two about a smooth surface. Roads and highways, piece of cake. Airports, let's just say it'll be the smoothest landing you've ever had. But what about when you want to go fast? Real fast? No, faster. We've helped cars go faster than they've ever gone before. Broken a few lap records along the way. Want the best paving performance? Go to the source. TopCon, always one step ahead.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road of life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
For our next driver profile, we've listened to the fans, and we want to hear from the Miami-based Italian-Canadian, Devlin Defrancesco. Devlin, thanks for coming on the show with us. How did you get into motorsports?
Well, actually, funny you asked that. In the Christmas of 2006, my dad kind of went behind my mom's back and ended up buying 2 go-karts, one for me and one for my little brother, and put them under the Christmas tree, and everything started from there.
Did she notice something was weird under the Christmas tree?
I don't know how that worked, but I don't know if he snuck out during the night to get them or something, but I know the first time she saw them was Christmas morning in 2006.
That's awesome. And take us from there. It's obviously a passion you and your father shared, karting. How did the career grow from there?
Career started in Sutton when I was about 7 years old. Started doing go-karts there, and in Goodwood, doing Canadian races, Canadian championships, and then moving to the U.S. and doing the Florida Winter Tour with you. And when you were younger, you know, it's funny, all the same guys that we raced against back in the day are now here. So yeah, racing in 2008, 2009 in the States, and then first went off to Europe in 2011 to race it in Italy.
Well, that's awesome. And for our Canadian fans back home, I think we have to give a shout out to Goodwood. I've raced there. Devlin obviously grew up there, so pretty cool to have 2 Canadians on the road to Indy. You're a race winner in British F4. You're a race winner in the Euro Formula Series. What then brought you back to America to get your start in Indy Pro and now Indy Lights?
Honestly, I saw a much better career for myself here in the U.S. with the sport of the Steinbrenners, with George Steinbrenner and Michael Andretti. What 2 amazing people to have support from. It's a dream that really not many people, everybody has, and everyone is asking for sure.
So I have to ask, have you been to a Yankees game with the Steinbrenner connection?
That is soon to be. I've watched a couple games with him, but I haven't been to one yet.
I think that's a request we need to ask from George.
Yes, of course. I definitely want to go to a baseball game with him soon.
Well, that sounds awesome. We can't wait to watch Devlin Defrancesco kill it for the rest of the year. Thanks for coming on the show, and best of luck for the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Another Road to Indy race weekend and another Talkin' Tech with Thompson. Let's find out what separates Indy Lights from the rest of the Road to Indy. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is push to pass. I'm looking for a veteran racer in Indy Lights to take our fans through what push to pass does to the racing on the Road to Indy. Let's go find him. We're here with Robert McGinnis, a veteran on the Road to Indy. He's covered off USF 2000, Indy Pro 2000, and now he is in Indy Lights. Robert, one of the main differences between those three series are the push to pass in Indy Lights and not on the bottom two rungs of the Road to Indy. So let's talk push to pass. Let's go through it. First off, how much horsepower does it give, and how many times can you use it?
So push to pass, it gives you 50 extra horsepower every time you hit it, but it also moves the limiter within the car, so it allows you to shift later, and it gives the engine more power altogether. You get to use it 15 times during the race, and as soon as you hit the button, it's on for 15 seconds straight. So a lot of it is strategy and figuring out when you need to use the push to pass, using it to get around other drivers. And really the only time you're allowed to use it, or when it will be activated, is when you're a second and a half behind the car in front. So if you're in the lead, you don't get that advantage. So push to pass is right here on the wheel. See, we have this nice orange circle around it, so we know exactly where it is when we're in the race.
So 15 times for 15 seconds for 50 horsepower. Now, just to be clear, I can press this anywhere on the lap.
Yep, anywhere you want. You can press it right before you hit the brakes. You can press it coming out of a corner. I think normally where you want to press it is when you come out of a corner onto a long straight. That gives you a run on the guy in front. Maybe you can make a pass on him, and it'll just give you the most advantage to get to use it down that whole straight.
Take me through the strategy of it. If you're in a dogfight, you're a second and a half behind somebody, and you're a second and a half in front of somebody. Are you using this for defense, just offense? Take me through your game plan.
So, what you'll want to use it when you get behind another car, you lose a lot of grip, a lot of aero. So it's almost a way to equalize that and be able to stay with the guy in front. So I'll be using it. I'll try to be smart. I've only got those 15 pushes. You want to use them all right at the beginning of the race, but you have to be smart and kind of save a few for the end. So first 3 laps, I'll use some and just kind of stay with the guy in front because I know he'll be using them too. You got to stay within that second and a half range, but then once you settle into the race, you kind of run a little bit, see how everyone's doing, whose tire's falling off, who looks quick, and then you can decide, when do you want to use it to get by the cars in front. But it's so tough to manage. You'll get to races, you'll have none at the end. You'll have people blowing by you. You'll get to races, and you'll get to the last 10 laps with, 10 left, and all of a sudden you've got a huge advantage on the guys in front, but you're already that far behind from not using it at the beginning. So a lot of strategy involved in push to pass. So you really do have to be smart of, when you use it and how you save it throughout the race.
Robert, this has been fantastic insight. Thank you very much, and best of luck this weekend using push to pass.
Thanks, Mark.
for you for sure. And we're going to get set with one today here, the very top rung of the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. Indy Lights getting ready to roll off here in about 5 minutes. My name's Rob Howden. I'm the voice of this program, and pleased to be here again in the Pacific Northwest. 11 drivers set to go here this morning in this Indy Lights event. These are the drivers just one step away from the NTT IndyCar Series. All 11 of them hoping one day to be in the big show here in Portland. And again, all of them chasing a $1.25 million scholarship. Let's have a look at the grid as 11 drivers about set to go. Starting in the 11th position, rookie in the program, started in USF 2000 for 2 years, made the big jump up to Indy Lights here in 2021. Christian Bogle out of Louisiana for Carlin Racing in the number 7. A strong season this year thus far to get the experience he needs to line up for a program in 2022. Row number 5 on the outside, a driver who last year we saw, rather 2 years ago, we saw finish second in the Indy Pro 2000 category. Driver out of Sweden, Rasmus Lindqvist. His rookie weekend here at Indy Lights got a chance to run the final 3 races of the year with Hunkos Racing. Rasmus Lindqvist in the number 51 starting in 10th. Moving now to row number 9 on the outside, last year's Indy Pro 2000 runner-up from Canada and America, dual citizen Devlin Defrancesco for Andretti Steinbrenner Autosport in the number 17 machine. Defrancesco had some issues yesterday, electrical. We'll see if he's able to fight his way forward here today in the number 17. Go to row number 4 now on the outside, your reigning Indy Pro 2000 champion with the Road to Indy scholarship, over $700,000 brought him into Indy Lights this year. Stingray Robb out of Idaho, the rookie in the number 2 for Hunkos Racing, starting in the 8th position. You'll see those beautiful white, red, and blue colors of the Road to Indy scholarship winner. Stingray Robb starting in 8th. Another driver making his first start here. We've watched him for the last 2 years in Indy Pro 2000, a winner last year at Mid-Ohio in Indy Pro 2000, the second rung of the Road to Indy. That is Manuel Suleiman in the number 59, getting an opportunity to run the final 3 races of this year with HMD Motorsports, the Mexican driver. Very impressive, and we look forward to seeing him continue his experience here at the Indy Lights level. Again, Suleiman alongside Stingray Robb on row number 4. We'll go down to row number 3 on the outside. A number of pole positions earlier this year. Debut season here in Indy Lights. Last year running in the Indy Pro 2000 category. Starting in 6th, number 68 from Singapore, it's Daniel Frost. Multi-time winner on the Road to Indy. And Frost at the number 68 starting in 6th. Frost running with Andretti Autosport. Inside of that row is Andretti Autosport teammate out of Mount Kisco, New York, in the number 27. Former winner in the program here. He'll start 5th. Robert McGinnis in the number 27, starting in 3rd. Working our way up to row number 2 now. Driver who has won numerous times on the year so far. Had a run of 5 wins over 6 races midway through the season. Just 10 point back in the championship. Currently second. A title contender for sure in the stretch run here for Indy Lights. From Jupiter, Florida in the number 28 for Andretti Autosport, Kyle Kirkwood starting in the 4th position. Yesterday, Kyle started 5th. Fought his way forward to 2nd. He'll start now from the outside of row number 2. We'll see whether or not Kirkwood can match the performance from yesterday. Inside of row number 2 is a driver who has lived up here in the Pacific Northwest since he's been 4 years of age. Born in Copenhagen, Denmark, Benjamin Peterson in the number 24 for Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports. Some great sponsors, new sponsors, Pacific Northwest sponsors on the car here this particular weekend. Alberto and also Thriftway Grocery Stores. Benjamin Peterson starting in the 3rd spot in that number 24. It's an HMD Motorsports and Global Racing Group 1, 2, 3 in qualifying. As I already said, Benjamin Peterson starting in that 3rd position. The front row on the outside, driver coming in from Sweden, multi-time race winner this year, the rookie Linus Lundqvist, the number 26, starting in that 2nd position. But the driver starting on the pole position today, a 103.572 in qualifying out of Chicago, Illinois for HMD Motorsports, your current point leader, and on a run of race wins to try to get the championship and the $1.25 million scholarship. Pole sitter for HMD Motorsports, number 79, David Malukas. So Malukas and Lundqvist on row 1, Peterson and Kirkwood row 2, McGinnis and Frost row 3, Suleiman and Robb row 4, DeFrancesco and Lint row 5, and Bogle on row 6. 450 horsepower behind each one of these drivers as they get set to go racing. Dallara Chassis and Cooper Tires joining me down here on pit lane right now to give us the command to fire up these engines so we can go racing. It's the Cooper Tire girls. We are on pit lane. Time to get things underway.
Road to Indy drivers, start your engines.
And with that, engines coming to life on pit lane. We'll send it up to Nick Yeoman and the entire crew from IndyCar Radio.
This is race number 16. Here's a look at your starting lineup for race number 2. It is David Malukas and Linus Lundqvist on the front row. Benjamin Peterson and Kyle Kirkwood will line up in row number 2. Robert McGinnis and Daniel Frost in row 3. Row 4, Stingray Robb and Devlin Defrancesco. Row number 5 sees Manuel Suleiman and Rasmus Lind, 2 newcomers to the Indy Lights Series, with Christian Bogle shotgun on the field. We've got a couple good turn announcers to help call the action today once they leave turns 1, 2, and 3. I know he is high above the racetrack in a scissor lift. Michael Young, I hope that thing's not swaying too much for you, but good morning nonetheless.
Good morning, Nick Yeoman. Yeah, I've tried to extend it to full extension, and I'm a little unnerved right now, but I like my view. I can see all of turn 4, 5, 6, and 7 of this beautiful Portland International Raceway. Actually catch them coming out of turn number 3. Then the field will go down to that 300-foot mark, make a right-hander into turn number 4. They've got to woe it down at the exit of turn number 4, then a quick run to that right-hander of turn number 5. They'll have another quick 30 yards or so before they'll do the left-hander of turn number 6. They'll woe the cars back down and then pick up the throttle again as they make their way down to turn number 7. They'll stab those brakes and then make that right-hander as they make their way down to this long, kind of curvy back straightaway where they'll come into the view of our very own Jake Query. Good morning, Jake.
Good morning to you, Michael, and you're correct in that description of turn number 8. Kind of a long curve is a good way of saying it. It is the right-hander that is turn number 7 just before that as they leave your view, Michael, where I will pick them up, then carry them along that long right-handed sweep that is turn number 8. Then it's a quick turn into turn number 9. That's a left-handed turn that, again, kind of goes through a toe that is turn 10 and 11. That's where they'll leave my view to go along the main straightaway to complete the lap here on this 12-turn, just under 2-mile circuit. When they go along the main straightaway, they will be coming back into the area of pit road. And let's go to pit road now with Rob Houghton with the conditions today. Little less sun, but still than yesterday, but still a pretty nice day, Rob.
Yeah, exactly that, Jake. And interesting to see a stream of spectators coming in from the time they opened up the gates, being told more people here, expected more tickets sold than we were here in 2019. So very exciting for the Grand Prix of Portland. Indeed, a cloudy day right now. It's going to get warmer, potentially up into the high 70s, but right now just 66 degrees here trackside. Should be an interesting approach, a little different from what we've had through testing on Friday morning, qualifying, and yesterday's race. Much different conditions, 66 degrees, and I'll tell you, looking forward to a great day. Ryan Marine, a lot of stuff happening on pit lane as well.
Definitely got our eyes on the tire strategy for this race, and yes, there are no pit stops in Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires, but tire strategy still very, very important, with tire selection throughout the course of the weekend playing a big impact. And with that in mind, let's keep our eyes on Linus Lundqvist, who will start on the outside of the front row. Among the front runners, he is the only driver starting with a fresh set of sticker Cooper tires. But if you go a bit further back to the mid-pack, keep your eyes on a couple Andretti Autosport drivers, with Robert McGinnis and Daniel Frost starting 5th and 6th respectively, also on a set of sticker Coopers. We saw in race 1 yesterday that the fresh tires were advantageous. Lundqvist took the pain yesterday starting on the scuffs, and it cost him. He slipped back late in that race. This might be a case of those roles being reversed. He's got the good tires. He might be making a charge to the front, along with several in the mid-pack who have the fresh 4 Coopers installed on their Indy Lights machines.
The field of 11 rolls down the front straightaway for the final time at pace speed as they have gotten the 1 to go. And Davey, let's expound a little bit on that point that Ryan just made for Linus Lundqvist, starting 2nd. One of the only drivers there in the first couple rows with fresh tires. How imperative is it for him to maybe push at the start? Or if you're his race engineer, are you telling him, hey, make sure you save the shine on those tires for lap 25 through 30?
Well, one thing with this racetrack, and especially being out on this morning and just getting reacquainted with it, is there's not a lot of tire wear here. This track doesn't have any high banked, super high speed corners that are wearing the tires off. I mean, you go through, you know, the down to 1, 2, very slow. 3 and 4, you got a little bit of speed, but 5 and 6, very slow. The only real speed you have is down that long back straightaway through turn 8, and it's not putting a lot of pressure on these tires, so tire wear should actually be really good on these Cooper tires right now. So always want stickers, for sure. Give me stickers if I have that choice, but it may not be a huge advantage. So with saying that, I would go quick. I would try to get heat cycle slow tires down as well. So you have that sticker tire, that little extra grip, I'd go for that, try to pass early.
Field making their way out of the final couple corners. They will start to assemble those rows of two. David Malukas, your points leader, alongside his teammate Linus Lundqvist in row number 1, Benjamin Peterson, Kyle Kirkwood in row 2. Then it's McGinnis and Frost. The alignment looks absolutely perfect. Malukas will wait to see the green flag as they slowly crawl down the front straightaway, getting ready to accelerate, and they will on those Cooper tires. We see some guys getting out of line already. That might have been some wheel spin, but it's David Malukas into turn number 1. He is clear with the race lead. A lot of banging back and forth at the midpoint of the pack, but it is Malukas, Michael, out of turn 3 with the race lead.
Yeah, David Malukas, 3-car length advantage over Linus Lundqvist. Kyle Kirkwood popped to that 3rd position, got around Benjamin Peterson. Then it's Robert McGinnis in that 5th position, but David Malukas already out to a lead, but Linus Lundqvist trying to close that gap. Now 2 car lengths, now 3 for David Malukas. He hits the brakes and he'll make that right handle through turn number 7.
Yeah, really good eye there in noticing that Kirkwood was able to make that move, Michael, to get himself into the 3rd position. He is now trying to close in on Linus Lundqvist for 2nd. Lundqvist, though, is more concerned about the fact that he wants to keep David Malukas in sight. They are pretty evenly split, 2 car lengths between each one of them.
Couple cars at the back of the pack, Christian Bogle and Stingray Robb with some cosmetic damage, aerodynamic damage on those cars on lap number 1. But up front, the front 3 are nose to tail down the front straightaway. It's Malukas, Lundqvist, and Kirkwood doing some drafting down the front straightaway. Lundqvist is going to take a look to the inside. He'll stick it in there, but he's going to lock up the tires, and Kyle Kirkwood's going to try to go around both of them. He will. Kyle Kirkwood passes 2 cars in 1 corner, Michael, as they head to turn 4.
What a great move by Kyle Kirkwood. He wants to stay in this points championship, and that's how you get it done. 3 car lengths over David Malukas right now as he bypassed both of those cars. Now Benjamin Peterson running in that 4th position, trying to get around his teammate Linus Lundqvist, but Kyle Kirkwood now through turn number 7 and a 3 car length advantage over Malukas.
Suddenly now Kyle Kirkwood has nothing but track in front of him. He does not have to worry about any traffic, and he is starting to put that traffic in his rear view mirror. As Kyle Kirkwood works his way now through turn number 9, he's got a 3 car length advantage over Lundqvist.
Davey, walk us through what you saw with that sensational move by Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, he did a great move right there, but what happened, the teammates got fighting with each other. They entered turn 1 really low, out of line, trying to block. It was actually Malukas trying to block Lundqvist. Then what happened is Kirkwood had the momentum, went around both of them on the outside in that tight turn 2, and just is going to take off now. I mean, talk about not worrying about a points championship. He's only 6 back. He just made up 5 points in that 1 path, that 1 corner.
David Malukas is not done, though, Michael. He's just 2 car lengths behind Kirkwood into 4.
He clearly has a great car, and only, like you said, about 2 car lengths behind Kyle Kirkwood actually closed that gap from the last time by when Kirkwood made that brilliant pass. Kyle now with about a 3 car length advantage over David Malukas. Then it's Linus Lundqvist and Benjamin Peterson. Robert McGinnis round out your top 5.
You know, Peterson is starting to give a pretty good look in Lundqvist. This would be the battle for the 3rd position. Linus Lundqvist holding on to it. That identical looking car right behind him of Peterson. It's about a 3 car length advantage right now as they work their way into turn number 10.
Top 7 are separated by just 3.3 seconds. Everyone all over each other here in the opening laps at Portland International Raceway. Out of the final corner, Kyle Kirkwood is your race leader by a couple car lengths over David Malukas. Malukas doesn't have to worry about being attacked from 3rd place running Linus Lundqvist. He can set his sights on the race leader and his championship rival through turns 1 and 2. He'll close within a car length. Michael, he's right there, but not close enough to show Kirkwood a wheel.
Yeah, I think Kirkwood might see that car of Manuel Suleiman here in about 2 laps or so as we see the field making their way through turn number 5. It's Kyle Kirkwood, a 3 car length advantage over David Malukas. Those 2 have gapped themselves from 3rd place running Linus Lundqvist and Benjamin Peterson. Kirkwood already through turn number 7.
It's through the quick switches where Kirkwood appears to be able to get himself just a little bit of breathing room. As a matter of fact, right now he's got, we'll call it 3 car lengths over Malukas, but then once they get onto the straightaway, Malukas tries to close that up. Kyle Kirkwood continues to be the leader.
Malukas continues to close, Davey, down these straightaways. He's able to get close, but as Jake pointed out, Kirkwood's car looks pretty stable right now through the corners.
Yeah, you know, Kirkwood, he knows how to win races. He's done it time and time again, and having the having the opportunity to be leading this race with very little passing to be done here is a huge advantage. Although Malukas gets right behind him going down into that front straightaway into turn 1, but you need to have more than that. You need to be completely beside him, and maybe a little more.
Yeah, that's as close as he's been the last couple laps. But as you mentioned, Davey, he has to get back in line. Want to clean up the incident we saw at the beginning of the race. It was towards the rear of the field involving Stingray Robb, Manuel Suleiman, Christian Bogle as well. Let's get some updates from pit lane. Ryan Marine, we will start with you.
3 cars made their way down the pit lane after that initial lap, and Manuel Suleiman was one. The other 2 both coming from the Juncos Racing stable. It was a quick change of the nose cone for Rasmus Lind, and he has returned to the racetrack. The same cannot be said for Stingray Robb. He was hit from behind by Manuel Suleiman. They're trying to repair the rear wing on that car, but it's a lengthy repair. The wing assembly is bent. They are still struggling to get that part off of the race car. They've got the spare ready to go to install it on that car as soon as they can, but in the meantime, Stingray Robb has had to sit patiently in the cockpit of that machine. Let's go back up to Nick real quick.
And just about had a battle for the lead. I thought David Malukas might have had a charge. He's going to get right back in line. So, Rob Howden, an opportunity to check in with you on pit lane as well.
Yeah, just to kind of tidy things up, as you guys said, Manuel Suleiman, a pretty hard impact into the braking zone, got aggressively into the back of Stingray Robb. His car actually going up on 2 wheels, on the left side wheels. The contact was so aggressive while he was under braking. They gave him a drive-through penalty. He had already come in to change the front wing. Drive-through penalty for Manuel Suleiman. He's back out onto the racetrack to continue this first weekend, his debut here in Indy Lights.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Stingray Robb, his rear wing looked like a wing sprint car there for a little while with that thing twisting in the wind. On lap number 5, it is Kyle Kirkwood, your race leader, by about a second over David Malukas. Linus Lundqvist not going away. In fact, on this lap, it looks like Lundqvist might actually be closer to challenging Malukas than Malukas is for the race lead. In 4th, it's Benjamin Peterson. 5th, Robert McGinnis. Then a pretty good battle for the 6th spot as Devlin Defrancesco is trying to hold off Daniel Frost down the front straightaway. Those 7 players that I mentioned now bend their way through turn number 1. Let's take a look at towards the back of that pack. It's 3 Andretti Autosport cars, Michael Young, Robert McGinnis in 5th, Devlin Defrancesco in 6th, and Daniel Frost in 7th, all nose to tail.
Yeah, Daniel Frost was the driver I thought was going to be making a move around Devlin Defrancesco. Those 2 now exiting turn number 4. That's the battle for 6. Devlin Defrancesco has it. Daniel Frost would like to take it away, and Frost has a very good turn number 6. Will close that gap down to about 3 car lengths. Other than that, Kyle Kirkwood is checked out up front.
Of this trio, talking about 5, 6, 7, it is the battle for 6 with Devlin Defrancesco off of turn number 7 getting just a little bit loose. That is really starting, as Nick had mentioned, to heat up. Frost is not able to make any ground coming off of turn number 8, but in that long straightaway heading into turn number 9, Defrancesco finds himself good speed. Heading in now to 10 and 11, he holds himself now about a 2.5 car length advantage over Frost.
Davey, I see a little bit of nose damage on that bright yellow car for Devlin Defrancesco. Looks like a bit of a hole punched into the front of car 17. What will that do for him in the cockpit trying to handle that car?
You know, it may put a little, actually, ironically, a little more downforce in that nose of the car to maybe help it turn, but unfortunately, it ruins your straightaway speed. It just creates so much drag going down the straightaway, just not as streamlined as it could be. Shouldn't hurt him a lot, honestly. I mean, it should be he'll be fine for the rest of this race. I think that happened right off the bat on the first lap. Just barely got into the back of another car. So not any real big damage, I don't think, that will cause him any issues at all.
You impressed that through 7 laps, I mean, the top 7 all still separated at just 5.5 seconds. I mean, we're kind of used to sometimes a guy can get out and become that rabbit that everyone has to chase, but right now, looks like up front, everything pretty competitive.
Yeah, well, what I think happens is after a double race weekend, after that first race, they all know they've already been through a race. They know where the car needs to be better, where they need to be better, and try to be a little bit more mistake-free, knowing what could happen. So doing a great job at that. But I have to say one thing with those HMD drivers, and to talk about Malukas and Lundqvist, obviously no team orders there, correct? I mean, it's the first lap going down into turn 1. If there were team orders, it would probably be to try to help Malukas win this championship and try to keep Kirkwood behind Lundqvist. But making that attempted move down in turn 1 not only cost him having an 11-point lead, it went down to only a 5-point lead. So definitely no team orders there.
Yeah, it's a big swing. And, Jake, as we watch Kyle Kirkwood navigate towards the back straightaway, he's kind of fended off the challenge from Malukas. For about 4 or 5 laps there, I thought we were going to see a pass for the lead, but he has done a nice job stretching it out now to a full and even 1 second.
Second verse, very similar to the first. And by that, Nick, I mean, yesterday at the outset of the race, we saw David Malukas kind of let melee take place behind him. Then, once the race pace settled in, he was in really good position to just make sure that he was taking care of what he needed to do. What we see today, Kyle Kirkwood, a little bit different in the fact that he had to get up into the action, make that double pass, a sensational pass for the lead. But now Kirkwood finds himself in a position 20% of the way through this race where he's got a comfortable advantage over Malukas heading into turn number 1. Things go single file. Malukas has Lundqvist and Peterson just behind him. They've gapped now from that trio we talked about as, again, Defrancesco and as well Daniel Frost, the best battle on the racetrack, the battle for 6th. But for Kyle Kirkwood, Nick, the beauty of it is everything's happening well behind him.
Yeah, 1.3 seconds now is the lead for Kyle Kirkwood. Full field rundown here as we are nearing the 1/3 mark of this 16th race of the 2021 Indy Lights Championship. These are the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series. This Indy Lights Series has produced a lot of talent, many of which we will be talking about later today for the NTT IndyCar Series Grand Prix of Portland. But here's how they run. Kyle Kirkwood is your race leader by 1.4 seconds now over David Malukas. Malukas has about a 7/10 of a second advantage over his teammate Linus Lundqvist. Third is Lundqvist. Fourth is Benjamin Peterson. Robert McGinnis runs in 5th. Devlin Defrancesco is 6th. Daniel Frost runs in 7th. Christian Bogle is 8th. Rasmus Lind is 9th. Manuel Suleiman, he's in 10th. He's 1 lap down. 9 laps down is Stingray Robb, who runs in 11th. And boy, we see a big move from Daniel Frost up the inside. He's going to go wheel to wheel with his teammate Devlin Defrancesco. Michael Defrancesco took him all the way out of the racetrack to the curbing, nearly forced him off the track. That battle heads to turn number 4.
Yeah, and that was nearly a pass made by Daniel Frost. Tried it last lap, tried it again this lap, but this time it cost him as Defrancesco now slides it through turn number 5 and through the exit of turn number 6. Daniel Frost has lost. He was right on that rear wing, now about a 7-car disadvantage.
Davey, elbows getting a little wide between those two.
Yeah, you know, at first I thought, ooh, that was pretty bold of Defrancesco on that exit just to push Frost right off the racetrack. But then on that replay, I think Frost, he could pretty much booted Defrancesco out of the way. So it was just kind of a fair bout play right there. So no harm to either one of them. There shouldn't be any penalties and go on. But they got beating up each other for teammates.
Yeah, you shove me, I shove you back. That's kind of how it works sometimes.
That's how that one worked for sure.
The bad news is as those two battle, it has allowed the front 5 to get away. In fact, Robert McGinnis, who runs in 5th, now has a 3.5 second advantage over Devlin Defrancesco and Daniel Frost. Frost is going to have to regather it a little bit now. He's 0.8 of a second behind Devlin Defrancesco, but clearly, Davey, Frost appears to have the faster car, and I think we can chalk it up to that nose damage for Devlin.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because it was the end of a straightaway where he caught him, and he's probably going to do it again. Just that will drag your straightaway speed down just enough to where it's hard to hold the guys behind you. And when I say it may be 1 or 2 mile an hour, it's not a huge deal, but it's enough for that guy to draft behind you and get the opportunity to make a pass.
Points as they run with Kyle Kirkwood, your race leader. He's second in points. He's close to within 5 markers of David Malukas, who runs in the second spot. Kirkwood back onto the front straightaway. The advantage is 1.5 seconds. On the stopwatch, it says it's growing incrementally each and every lap as 3 GRC and HMD Motorsports cars give chase. Out of turn number 3, Michael, here comes Kyle Kirkwood with David Malukas continuing to give chase, but it looks like Linus Lundqvist not losing this battle either.
Yeah, Linus is doing a good job trying to keep track of his teammate David Malukas, although that disadvantage about 7 car lengths right now, but Malukas has seemed to have lost touch with Kyle Kirkwood. Kyle looking so good through these turns as he now makes his way through turn number 7, but as you said, Nick, Linus Lundqvist starting to close in on David Malukas.
Yeah, Lundqvist is trying to get up there to play with Malukas, but Malukas' bigger concern is Kirkwood, because Kirkwood really, as he works his way through turn number 9, he's opened up about a 4-car length advantage and is just not missing any marks in those 8, 9, 10 combo areas. That's where you would think Lundqvist might try to get some ground, but now he's going to have to do it along the main straights. Down to pit road now in Rob Howden.
Yeah, Jake, Lundqvist kind of playing the long game right now. One of the things we talked about at the start of the broadcast was the fact that he is on fresh tires. I had a chance to talk earlier today and here on pit lane as well with the guys from HMD Motorsports. We had a ton of track time here this particular weekend. On Friday, a 2.5-hour session followed by an 1.5-hour session, essentially a test all lumped into Friday before we had practice and then qualifying for race number 1. So these guys have had a lot of time on the racetrack. They've had a lot of time to dial the cars, not only for how good they're going to be on fresh tires, but how good they're going to be on used tires as well. And the HMD crew telling me that David Malukas very, very quick, very comfortable on used tires. Although again, with Linus, with those fresh tires, this is a long play. He doesn't need to push hard. The only T motors there are do not crash each other. So they can race as much as they want, but Davey Hamilton, the age-old story, right? Just whatever you do, don't crash each other.
Yeah, that's hard to explain to the team owner when your teammates would take each other out. So exactly right. Play as hard as you want, but don't take each other out.
Kyle Kirkwood, your race leader here on lap number 13 with 17 to go, and we may see those two teammates lock up here for the second position. Linus Lundqvist has a run. He's closed within a couple car lengths of David Malukas, but again, opting to stay in the draft and close, not pull out and make a pass. Let's hone in, Michael, on that battle for second. Malukas and Lundqvist out of turn 3.
Yeah, the last thing David Malukas wants is his teammate trying to get around him as David Malukas lets that back end slide out ever so slightly at the exit of turn number 4. Now working through turns 5 and 6. Linus Lundqvist about 4 car lengths and a disadvantage to David Malukas. Malukas now through turn number 7. Again, about a 4-length car length advantage over Linus Lundqvist.
And it looked like Malukas might have gone just a little wider exiting turn number 7 than did Lundqvist, but it doesn't allow for Linus Lundqvist to make up any ground as the distance remains the same through turn number 8. Now off of turn number 9. Lundqvist coming into that area on the main straight heading into 9 was able to make up a little bit of ground, but again, once they take that lefty bend, then all of a sudden the gap grows back again.
Yeah, those drivers try to hustle through the last couple right-handers of 10, 11, and 12 to get back on the front straightaway. That's where you want to get the run. That's where you want to use push to pass, and that's where you want to set up your overtakes. Once again, into turn number 1, Lundqvist is about 2 car lengths behind David Malukas, but stays in line. How about that battle for 6th? It heated up a couple laps ago. Michael, Devlin Defrancesco exiting turn number 3.
Yeah, Devlin doing a better job these last couple of laps. His line is completely different of that of Daniel Frost. Frost takes that tight right-hander to the inside and puts those right sides right on that curbing, where Defrancesco kind of runs the middle of the circuit for whatever reason. After Daniel Frost and them had a couple of, had that incident, it looks like Devlin Defrancesco, Jake, has now checked out. It's about a 9 car length advantage for him.
Yeah, he really working into that right-hander that is turn number 7 allowed and afforded himself the opportunity to take it perhaps just a little more gingerly than last time by. Again, Devlin Defrancesco running in 6th. It is Daniel Frost behind him, but as Michael had talked about, that lead now gaps back to 4.5 car lengths.
This is the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. The undercard for the main event later today, the Grand Prix of Portland for the NTT IndyCar Series. You can hear it right here on IndyCar Radio affiliates, your usual outlets, Sirius XM, the TuneIn app, and of course IndyCar.com and the IndyCar app. We appreciate you making us a part of your busy Sunday. Davey, we look ahead to the IndyCar race. Alex Pallow on the pole, Alex Rossi to his outside. Both of those guys hungry, but at this point of the season for very different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. One battling for that championship, first one that he has opportunity to win, and then the other just trying to get a win. Hasn't had a win for a long time. Wants to get that win underneath his belt. So it's going to be an exciting first lap, but then you got to remember behind him you got Scott Dixon, another guy running for the championship as well, and then obviously Pato O'Ward I think starts 7th, and Newgarden I think he's back a ways in that 16th, 18th position. So it's going to be a lot of work for him to continue to stay in contention for this championship.
Davey, how are we going to get 27 cars through turn 1?
Well, that's chances aren't good, to be real honest with you. Something's bound to happen. It seems like going through turn 1 with 27 cars, they'll be 4 wide, I assure you, going down into that corner. So they have to take care of each other. They have to know that you can't win the race on the first lap. That's the bottom line. 3 of our championship contenders are towards the front, but as you've seen yesterday in the Indy Lights race, it was the front contenders that were overshooting the corners and making the mistakes. So you just never know. It's going to be exciting for sure.
I'll tell you what, they've done a pretty good job over the last couple years at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Of course, we've run, I feel like, 27 races there in the last couple years on the road course due to the pandemic. But that hard right-hand turn down the front stretch, it's very similar circumstance to the start of this race with that hard right-hand turn. Do you think you can rely on some of the things that they've learned at the IMS road course?
Well, you know the difference there, Nick, is yes, that for one, you're right, that right-hander in turn 1 looks the same. The big difference is turn 2. Where turn 2 here is immediately. I mean, there's only a couple car lengths between turn 1 and 2, and it's almost a 180-degree corner going back into turn 3. Where Indy, a lot of momentum through turn 1 and through turn 2, so the speeds stay up. There's not as much braking once you make that turn into turn 1. So a little different. It's because you break into turn 1 here, and then you really break into turn 2. So it just stacks guys up. It's going to be very interesting, as I said earlier. Braking zone is just difficult. If you look at the racetrack, it's very wide down there. When you're in the normal line, which is high, up against that wall to make that right-hander, a lot of rubber being laid down, a lot of grip up there. But when you fan out to 4 and 5 wide, you get lower than that. 2 things happen. The rubber's not on the racetrack, so the grip is not as high, and you don't have as good of an angle getting into turn 1. So that's where the problems happen. So it's going to be an interesting first lap.
It is the Grand Prix of Portland here on IndyCar Radio. Pre-race coverage begins 3 o'clock Eastern Time, noon local time there on the West Coast as IndyCar makes its trip to the Pacific Northwest. And Jake, I kind of like this, kind of a 3-race swing for the IndyCar Series. Indy Lights gets to participate in 2 of those weekends. They'll join IndyCar at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, but a good opportunity for West Coast fans. 3 straight weekends, get to see some open wheel racing.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Nick, because literally it just feels, because of the fact it's 3 races, there was a gap in the schedule kind of leading up to it, and then you start the Pacific Northwest, you go to Northern California or Mid-California, and then Southern California. So it literally feels like it was its own piece of the puzzle, if you will, that was set aside, and then everybody said, hey, the 3-step at the end. I mean, it really set the stage for a 3-race shootout, if you will, Nick. Not only for teams that are not in championship contention to build momentum for next year, but for those that are in championship contention to put it all together over this last 3 races. And that goes as well for these drivers in the Cooper, the Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires. Those that are not in points contention want to still get the opportunity to finish strong, get the confidence, show to teams what they can do for next year, Nick.
Yep, Indy Lights, again, has this doubleheader at Portland. They will go to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for a pair of races and then end the season at Mid-Ohio. But just so happy that all the race fans out on the West Coast that didn't get the opportunity last year to see open-wheel racing with the events on the West Coast being canceled, getting that opportunity this year. Let's take a peek back at that battle for 5th. It looks like it's for 6th, picking back up. Michael, Defrancesco and Frost a little bit closer there into turn 4.
Yeah, Defrancesco starting to run that same line that Daniel Frost has run, putting those right sides on the inside curbing at the midway point of turn number 4. That time through, Defrancesco able to gap it about 3 car lengths, but each time they come by, that gap closes ever so slightly. Daniel Frost, 3 car length disadvantage over Defrancesco.
And again, Frost going out of turn number 7, got to the middle of the racetrack a little bit sooner than did Defrancesco. Does that make for any made-up ground? Not necessarily, although now Frost is going to take a look to the inside as they go into turn number 9. Not going to be able to make the move as Defrancesco holds him off, but Daniel Frost is right there. Nick, he is right on the rear wing of Devlin Defrancesco.
Man, he definitely took a peek into turn 9, but you have to be really fast and really brave to pull off a pass here. Looks like he's going to try to make it work in turn number 1. Defrancesco moves to the inside of the front straightaway to defend. Will he overshoot the corner? No, he'll stay right in the racing line and hold off Daniel Frost for now, although Michael, Frost is right on the rear wing into turn 4.
Battle for 6th place. Daniel Frost will try to look to the inside, but Defrancesco will close the door. Now through turn number 5 and turn number 6, Defrancesco has that back end wiggle ever so slightly. They'll drive through some dust as Robert McGinnis went off ever so slightly. Now Daniel Frost will look to the outside of Devlin Defrancesco. Now back to the inside, try to get around.
feels like it's a matter of time now for Daniel Frost as they exit turn number 7. Again, the battle for 6. They now go side by side out of 8 in that long kink, and Daniel Frost has finally made the move, put him in 6th in front of Devlin Defrancesco.
Davey, how about that move? That's a great spot. You don't see a lot of passes there, but Daniel Frost working that throttle to get a nice run on Devlin.
Yeah, where he did such a good job was the Defrancesco was just playing so much defense, just trying to block, putting him in a bad area on the racetrack, bad angles on the corners, and Daniel Frost stayed in the prime line, the fastest line on the racetrack, and man, what a good setup going in that back straightaway.
I'll tell you what, Defrancesco's not trying to go away, though. He's just a couple car lengths back. Michael, does he have anything for Daniel Frost, the driver from the Singapore, heading to turn 4?
Well, we'll see how Daniel Frost negotiates turn 4. A nice run through turn number 4 as Defrancesco will remain about 3 car lengths behind him. Now Defrancesco trying to take that same line that Daniel Frost has taken the last couple of times through that turn 5, 6, 7 complex. Now through turn number 7, Frost about 5 car lengths over Defrancesco.
And again, Defrancesco just sat and was leading for so long. It just felt like a matter of time before Frost was going to be able to get around him. And Nick, I think that's what you were talking about, in the fact that Frost just knew that Defrancesco did not have that straight line speed, and that once he got away from him, he'd be able to put him in his mirror now. He's about a 4 car length advantage over Defrancesco.
And Davey, we just kind of saw an alternate camera angle of that pass, and it looked like Devlin Defrancesco was kind of holding on for dear life. That car looked loose with Daniel Frost putting the pressure on.
Yeah, when he had a bad angle, really entered early and low down into turn 7 down there, or 6, I'm sorry, it left him with no momentum, and when he got on the throttle, back in, wanted to come around, and that's all Frost needed. He had a lot of grip, had a good line, he was running straight, and enough to shoot right by him.
So with 7 laps to go, Daniel Frost moves into the 6th spot, and he has already put a 1-second gap over Devlin Defrancesco. Up front, I know we haven't talked about it much, not missing much. Kyle Kirkwood is your race leader by 2.3 seconds over David Malukas. Malukas' advantage nearly identical. It's at 2.2 seconds over third place running Linus Lundqvist. Lundqvist has a 3.5 second advantage over Benjamin Peterson, and Peterson a nearly 4.5 second lead over Robert McGinnis. So up front, Davey, with the front 5, they're all taking care of their cars, but those gaps are starting to grow, and that's why we found the intrigue towards mid-pack.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The drivers out front, all pretty steady. I'm watching lap times, very, very consistent. Kirkwood just slowly, about a 10th a lap quicker than Malukas. Lundqvist has fallen back as well, but their times are very on top of each other, very much the same. But mid-pack, it shows maybe where the ill-handling cars are coming into play, and the ones that are handling a little better are challenging them. So it's pretty exciting in the middle of this field.
6 laps to go. Let's go back to pit lane and Rob Howden.
Yeah, obviously our work kind of down here done for Ryan Marine and I, but Nick, Ryan and I kind of talking about it a little bit. You looked at how this weekend was kind of playing out. First, second, third, and fourth for HMD Motorsports and Global Racing Group in qualifying for race 1. They go first, second, and third in race 2. Kirkwood's outside the top 3 and top 4 in those races. You got to think that an opportunity for David Malukas to literally pull away in the championship and almost lock things in terms of being able to then manage how he's going to handle Laguna Seca and Mid-Ohio in October. But instead, Kyle Kirkwood comes from 5th to 2nd and finds himself potentially getting a race win. The fact that he's been able to wrangle his way in front of these guys, how good HMD's been here. This is definitely the story of the weekend for Kirkwood to come back like he has.
Yeah, there's no doubt. To his point, Davey, Kyle Kirkwood, based on starting lineups, had no business winning this race, or maybe being competitive enough to get on the podium to finish second yesterday. It shows you just how talented and how much he can charge, not necessarily in qualifying, but when we drop the green flag for races.
Well, and he could be in the better position knowing that he has to make up points. He can't relax. He has to go for it no matter what, and he did. He went for it. He made that pass on the outside of both those teammates of Malukas and Lundqvist and made it happen, and that's what he's going to have to do the rest of the season. Just be aggressive, do what you do. He knows how to win races because he's won a lot of them, especially through the middle of the season, and he's back on pace to win another one.
And Davey, what could this do for David Malukas' confidence on the opposite end, where I think he looked at this weekend based on qualifying and how yesterday went is, man, this is my opportunity to score a lot of points. And the one guy that he didn't want to be looking at chasing during the race is all of a sudden out front and poised to win with 4 to go.
Probably a little bit surprised about that as well, knowing that he had teammates in between him, and Kirkwood, but that, the teammates got to racing each other, as we talked about previously, and it cost him. It cost him a lot of points and potentially, this championship. You never know how many points it's going to come down to at the end of this, but we all know how good Kirkwood is in Mid-Ohio. That's the finale. So if you go in there even, dead on points, boy, you got to favor Kirkwood for sure.
Again, Kyle Kirkwood started fourth in this race, and as Linus Lundqvist and David Malukas both took shallow lines into turn number 1, challenging each other for the top spot, it was Kyle Kirkwood who swept around the outside, taking the race lead early in this event, and is starting to walk away a 2.6 second advantage as he will come back out onto the front straightaway, and he will see just 3 laps to go here at Portland International Raceway. Michael Andretti, we saw shots of him down on pit lane, keeping his eye on Kyle Kirkwood, his future. A lot of question marks. If he wins the championship, we know he's got a scholarship coming, but Michael, the only question is where he ends up. He might end up in victory lane, though, here in about 3 laps.
Boy, he looks just fantastic after that brilliant pass done into turn number 1, that same line lap after lap, and he's slowly gapping himself from David Malukas. It's Kyle Kirkwood as he makes his way through turn number 7. As you said, a 2-second advantage over David Malukas.
Took it down low in turn number 7, but didn't get that rubber too much onto those rumble strips. Now Kyle Kirkwood, no issue at all through turn number 8. Long kind of sweeping curve before he sets himself up. Talking about Kyle Kirkwood for turn number 9. Takes that turn with no issue whatsoever. Nick, he is clicking off the final laps here in Portland.
He began karting at the age of 5. He's from Jupiter, Florida. Of course, Oliver Askew from there as well. They've become good friends throughout the years. Enjoys fishing and spending time on the water, and Kyle Kirkwood now just 2 laps away from his 7th race win of the season. Yesterday, David Malukas accomplished that fact, and Michael Young, he's about a lap and a half away. Kyle Kirkwood headed to turn 4.
You talk about when this young driver will make his way to the NTT IndyCar Series. So looking forward to seeing what Kyle Kirkwood can do. He has been so dominant, so good through this Road to Indy program, and to see him make that pass the early portion of this race and keep himself in this championship hunt, going to be exciting to see. Kyle Kirkwood out of turn number 7.
Kirkwood's lead over Malukas is almost identical to the lead that Malukas holds over Linus Lundqvist. That's how they run, 1, 2, 3. But it's been all Kyle Kirkwood since that pass that put him into the lead, Nick, as he's now about to approach, and soon we'll see the white flag.
And it's amazing. Those are the 3 that are up front because they have shared a podium 4 different times this year. Kirkwood, Malukas, and Lundqvist. They have been the championship contenders all year long. Lundqvist starting to fall out of it, but up front, Kyle Kirkwood, David Malukas continue to put on this heavyweight title bout. Out of turn number 1, he's seen the white flag. Kyle Kirkwood on his final trip around Portland International Raceway.
7 wins for David Malukas, and if he can complete this lap, Kyle Kirkwood will have his 7th as well. This championship battle going down to the bitter end. 4 rounds remaining. Kyle Kirkwood again over 2-second advantage over David Malukas. Kyle Kirkwood out of turn number 7 for the final time.
And if Malukas is waiting for Kirkwood to have a hiccup on the last lap, it's not going to happen through turn number 7. As a matter of fact, as he now works his way through turn number 8, not going to happen there either. Kyle Kirkwood, no issue whatsoever. Nick Yeoman, help bring home Kyle Kirkwood.
He will blitz his way through turn number 9 and head for the last couple corners. He scored victories at Barber, St. Pete, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Road America, and 2 at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Out of the final corner, here's Kyle Kirkwood. He'll see the twin checkered flag swerving back and forth across the front straightaway. He scores his 7th win of the season. He's done it again. Kyle Kirkwood closes this championship battle to within 5 points of David Malukas, as Malukas comes home in the 2nd spot, 2.5 seconds behind. Linus Lundqvist finishes in 3rd, a solid 5 seconds behind your race winner, Kyle Kirkwood. And we see Michael Andretti and all the guys for Andretti Autosport celebrating Davey on pit lane. Their driver, Kyle Kirkwood, has done it once again.
Once again, 7th time this season to get it done. So really good run by him and that team. And, man, I tell you what, both these drivers deserve, I think, to be in the IndyCar Series. So it's a shame there's only one scholarship. One of either Malukas or Kirkwood's going to get that scholarship. And it's going to be exciting to see them move up the ladder.
I should correct myself. Wins at St. Petersburg, a pair of wins at Detroit for Kirkwood. He won a race at Road America, swept the weekend at Mid-Ohio, and this being his 7th race win comes on the West Coast at Portland International Raceway. Kirkwood, Malukas, Lundqvist, the podium. Benjamin Peterson and Robert McGinnis round out the top 5 as they finish 4th and 5th. Peterson brings home another solid result, and McGinnis gets a top 5 finish once again. He's got a couple of those so far this season. Daniel Frost with that great pass around Devlin Defrancesco comes home in the 6th position. Devlin Defrancesco has to settle for the 7th spot. Christian Bogle comes home in 8th. Rasmus Lind in his debut weekend will come away with a 9th place finish after finishing 7th yesterday. Manuel Suleiman had to pit for an avoidable contact penalty. He ends up in 10th, 1 lap down after an impressive 6th place finish yesterday. And then Stingray Robb got to do a little bit of a test session there over the final 18 laps as they repaired his car. He finishes in 12th. In the 11th position. He finishes 12 laps down, I should say. A look at your championship points. David Malukas still the points leader, but it is down to 5 points over Kyle Kirkwood as both of those drivers have now matched each other with 7 wins. And we see Kyle Kirkwood popping out of that race car victorious here at Portland International Raceway. Just 5 points now behind David Malukas. Linus Lundqvist is 3rd in points, really falling behind in this championship hunt. He is 73 markers behind. Benjamin Peterson now 4th in points, 146 back. And Daniel Frost sits in the 5th spot in points, 157 points behind. In fact, that pass getting around Devlin Defrancesco moves him into 5th in points as Defrancesco sits in 6th. We will wait to hear from some of our drivers as they have made their way to pit lane. Kirkwood already out of his car celebrating a race win. Then we see Devlin Defrancesco and all these drivers have returned to pit lane as we're getting set to go racing for the NTT IndyCar Series a little bit later today. Kirkwood, Malukas, and Lundqvist, your podium here in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Nick Yeoman here, the entire IndyCar radio crew gathering information, getting ready for an IndyCar race a little bit later today as, again, Kyle Kirkwood, race win number 7 on the year. Jake Queries, we wait to hear from some of these drivers. Kirkwood, Malukas, they both seem poised for IndyCar.
Yeah, it was a heck of a move for Kyle Kirkwood. And, again, David Malukas' ability to run up front as well. Solid weekend for both. Speaking of one of those two, down on pit road with Ryan Marine.
A win yesterday, 2nd place today. David Malukas in a frantic moment there at the start when Kyle was able to sneak past. You were also battling with your teammate. Take us through that moment and how all 3 of you somehow were able to come out on the other side.
Yeah, well, going in, I saw Linus. Had no sight on Kyle, but I knew that Linus was trying to go down the inside, and I tried protecting it. And we were going in through smooth, and I didn't know that Kyle was anywhere even near. So I'm going to keep it tight here to try to protect just so Linus doesn't do any undercuts. And I actually have my spotter in turn 1, and he told me just a split second too late that Kyle was on the outside, but he was already just beside me right when it happened. If I would have got that call a little bit sooner, I would have made sure to, cut it off. But it's been unfortunate, but looking at that race, we definitely had better pace than him. I was trying to get around him, but it was just barely not enough. And so tires started getting worn out, and I started losing fronts just being in the bad aero wash through 4 and 5. So I knew I had to back up since Linus was behind me on new tires. So I was like, got to back up. It's over. I got to just make sure I keep 2nd here.
Another great battle between the 2 of you. Congratulations. We'll see you at the next one.
Yeah, wait, so what's the points now?
I don't have it in front of me. I hear it's 5 points. 5 points the difference.
Okay, so all that hard work and I got 2 points.
Hey, that's racing for you. David Malukas to victory lane and Rob.
Thanks, Ryan. 7th win of the year for Kyle Kirkwood. You get that point lead down to just 5 markers. Every win's a big one. This one pretty big, really, really big, I think, going into the stretch run.
It's super important because they had 3 wins in a row, and I didn't want to let them get another weekend sweep there. So to be able to get that win today, close up the points again, I think we're going to be really good at Laguna, Mid-Ohio, so that was absolutely crucial for our championship. I said it the entire weekend, but we didn't really have it in qualifying, but in the 2 races, we were stout. It was the first race we made 3 passes, quickest lap time. And there again, we were able to get the lead there pretty quickly after they were fighting. I was able to capitalize on a couple of their mistakes, which was absolutely perfect. And then once I get out front, I knew we had the car. I knew we had the race pace, and we're able to make it happen there.
Before we talk about the past, let's talk about that mindset. You guys get into qualifying and they lock out, the front three, the front four. You're starting a little further back. What's the mindset going in there? Did you know you had a good enough car, or was it really you got to go on taking any opportunity that arises?
No, I knew we had a good enough car. It was just we couldn't let David get far away like he did yesterday. I think if he was closer yesterday, I would have been able to battle with him. But I knew today we had to do it really quick. Linus did it quick with me. He's got a lot on the line as well. So he needs a win. I need a win. So we were both attacking right away, right on, and we pounced on him just there on that first lap. And Linus went to the inside, and I was like, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to go to the inside of him. So they're battling all the way down low. So I just picked up my brake marker there between the 3 and 4 board and was able to cross them up there because they went a little bit too deep, which was perfect.
Yeah, gorgeous pass for sure. Let's talk about Laguna Seca right now. We go there next weekend. What's the mindset? Anything change at all, or just get out there and win races?
Well, I mean, now it's kind of an even playing field again. I mean, it's kind of whoever wins the next race is going to be in the lead. So it's a little bit, we got to push to beat each other, but at the same time, we got to do some kind of risk management to make sure we don't put ourselves in a bad position, which I would have to say today and yesterday, I had to put myself in a little bit of iffy situations to keep us in the points, and it paid off.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Race winner today, Kyle Kirkwood. That moves him to 24 career wins on the road to Indy. I'll tell you, Ryan Marine, this is the guy that's going to be in the championship battle.
Yeah, it's been a great battle all through the year. Linus Lundqvist has been a part of that championship battle for the bulk of the season. You were right there mixing it up with Kyle and your teammate David. A couple of podiums this weekend. All in all, how do you assess your weekend here in Portland?
Happy to be back on the podium, but we want more than that. We're here for race wins and so on. But it's been all right. A little bit unfortunate in this one where me and David fought into turn 1 and then Cal got past our both. Unfortunately, would have been nice to keep them behind. But all in all, it's good for me to be back on the podium.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
All right, so Linus Lundqvist gets his 8th podium of the year. David Malukas finishes 2nd after scoring his 7th win of the season yesterday. Kyle Kirkwood matches that, and the points championship within 5 markers. Next week, Indy Lights back in action. Another doubleheader at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. For the entire IndyCar radio crew, a reminder, coming up at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, noon local time, it is pre-race coverage of the Grand Prix of Portland for the NTT IndyCar Series. So long for now from Portland International Raceway.
Here is a bit of wisdom from your Uncle Cooper. Tires exist on a spectrum. On one end, you got too much tire. On the other, you don't get enough. Both ends are rip-offs. You're either paying for more than you need or needing more even after you pay. So if you want a tire that costs what tires should cost and does what tires should do, go right for the sweet spot. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
At TopCon, we know a thing or two about a smooth surface. Roads and highways, piece of cake. Airports, let's just say it'll be the smoothest landing you've ever had. But what about when you want to go fast? Real fast? No, faster. We've helped cars go faster than they've ever gone before. Broken a few lap records along the way. Want the best paving performance? Go to the source. TopCon, always one step ahead.
karting and motorsport enthusiasts. Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
Third spot's been a great season all told. P3 today for Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports, Linus Lundqvist. Lundqvist, third spot, challenged early, ends up the P3 position, another podium for him. Great battle up front early as we saw the racing in the festival curves, just absolute action inside, outside. Finishing in second spot today, still with a 5-point lead, heading to WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. P2 for HMD Motorsports, David Malukas. We've seen some great championships over the years here, and we actually crowned some here at Portland as well. We had the Colton Herta versus Pato Award. Of course, we had Renus VK versus Oliver Askew this year, obviously turning into the David Malukas versus Kyle Kirkwood battle. Folks, this championship's going to go down to the end, but this driver coming through with a big race win here today. His 7th win of the season, 24th career win in the Road to Indy. Give it up for Kyle Kirkwood! Kyle Kirkwood, another victory here. 2018 USF 2000 champion, 2019 Indy Pro 2000 champion, looking to be the first driver ever to win all 3 championships in a row. Of course, Indy Lights on hiatus in 2020. Great to have it back here this year and expecting some growth for 2022 as well. A couple of new teams coming in. Looking for between 15 and 17 drivers next year. Bring a couple of our guests in here for some shots here on the podium. Guests of Cooper Tires joining us here today. Of course, Cooper Tire, the official tire provider for the Road to Indy and our presenting sponsor as well. This Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires. Man, this championship is heating up. Doubleheader next weekend at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Just 5 points, rather, at WeatherTech Laguna Seca. The good folks from the Portland Police, our first responders, joining us here today as well. They've been having some fun with us. Yeah, great, guys. Thank you so much. They've been enjoying our hospitality here as part of the Road to Indy. Thrilled to have some reps of our Portland Police with us here. Thank you so much, guys and girls. We appreciate it, everything that you do. This weekend, of course, as we, again, think back of the incidents on September 11th. Great to have our first responders here and great to have them with us at all times. Guys, we appreciate that because it's almost champagne time. If I were you, I'd probably get out of there because you don't want to be covered in this stuff. Great way to cap off the Indy Lights doubleheader here this weekend. As we all know, some tremendous racing. It's time to spray that champagne, folks, and away it flies. Oh, Kirkwood getting hit pretty hard there. Great celebration, folks. One more time, my podium here at Indy Lights. Kyle Kirkwood with the win. David Malukas second. Linus Lundqvist third. These are the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series. Malukas wants to finish up the bottle. Oh, that's a lot. That is a lot. That's a lot. Once again, folks, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here early this morning to watch our future stars, the top level of the Road to Indy. We really appreciate it. We know you got a fantastic race getting ready to roll here for you in the Portland Grand Prix this afternoon. Enjoy yourself, folks. Enjoy a great day here at Portland International Raceway.